In this series, we will be reading the lore text about the Cyberpunk 2077 setting from the book, The World of Cyberpunk 2077. This episode covers the final section of Chapter 2, The Technology of Tomorrow, about braindance and netrunning. Braindance, consuming braindance, home sessions and feeders. You'll need a few pieces of equipment before you can experience braindance and replay BD data. First, you need a wreath. That's the street slang term for a BD headset. They come in wired or wireless varieties, and they all need a base station to operate like a feeder or home entertainment device. In addition to processing braindance data and streaming it to the wreath, a feeder has the advantage of also monitoring your vital functions and sustaining your organism during days-long sessions so you won't die from dehydration or starvation. It would take much longer anyway, and some neighbor might be alerted by the feeder signal if you're lucky. All you need to do is put the headset on your head and plug a BD data disk into your personal port, and you're ready to go. When you activate the wreath, strong stroboscopic flashes force your mind into a catatonic, trance-like state, almost like a shallow sleep. In most cases, this is a voluntary act. No one can force braindance on a conscious person. Cooperation of a willing subject is required to properly experience a BD session. Penal braindance is an exception, since it is mostly administered to drugged convicts. And due to the procedure's less subtle execution, the session is fully perceived by even unwilling users. The emotions depicted are brutal and horrifying, but I know some people that are willing to pay a lot of money to obtain a recording of such experiences, some of whom might still be left wanting more. You can try to experience BD without entering the trance, but streaming will quickly overload the frontal cortex if your brain is not forced into a receptive state. That would cause disorientation, confusion, and a rather harsh session. Prolonged use of braindance in such a way can even result in minor brain damage, but some street junkies still prefer to play it rough. I have also heard about some illegal government or corporate penitentiary programs where BD is forced on subjects without putting them into a trance. You can experience braindance alone or in a group with sessions designed for interaction with multiple participants. Some high-budget productions can afford to produce scenes with multiple actors interacting at the same time. But BD is more commonly for just one or two viewers, because each additional participant greatly reduces the overall level of detail in an interaction. The technology is constantly developing, and major studios and producers are working on ever larger productions with even greater performance and profundity than those already available. Arcades, if your feeder subscription has expired, or you can't afford your own playback device with high fidelity or multi-user setups, or you just want to hang with like-minded geeks, you can always visit a braindance arcade. These places have tons of BD tapes that you can rent as long as you have a bit of money. Some arcades specialize in specific brain dance genres, the perfect place to go and meet other BD fans and discuss the newest productions. And before you ask, yes, there are also arcades that offer the hardcore illegal BD stuff, but I don't want to have anything to do with them. If you're interested in snuff brain dance, just get the fuck out of my shop. Portable BD stations. Yes, you can also use a portable BD rig, but they have their drawbacks, especially the older or cheaper versions. Their processors are usually not as efficient as those in stationary devices. Therefore, sessions may not feel as smooth, nor emotions and sensations as sharp and vivid. Using BD outside of a safe zone, such as your house or the arcade room, is always risky. You tend not to be aware of your surroundings when you're in the trance, so enjoying BD in the open is asking for trouble. As for playing it rough without passing out, I'm sure that I've mentioned the consequences. Most BD junkies who use cheap, portable brain dance units are slowly turning themselves into turnips. Recording brain dance cartridges. Brain dance recording technology is based on electromagnetic sensors that read the brain activity of a user. The signal is then converted from analog to digital and stored in the net or on a data-carrying device like a chip or disk before editing. It's worth mentioning that to obtain quality data, recording devices should be calibrated to the person being recorded. Calibration can take up to several weeks and requires the full cooperation of the individual. Lack of basic training and cooperation will mostly result in junk data, unusable in the editing process. That's the reason why it's almost impossible to use BD technology as a lie detector or to solve criminal cases by using it to record a suspect's thoughts. Brain dance recordings are inadmissible as evidence in most courts of law. Editing raw recordings should never be used in brain dance. They have too many scraps of memories, stranded thoughts, and faint emotions to be comprehensible or pleasant for most users. Due to the differences in physiology between the recorder and the viewer, material is perceived as muddy and unclear at best, and replaying it could result in dizziness and nausea. Refining the data requires extensive editing on professional brain dance studio equipment, a computer with significant processing power, a calibrated dev headset, a navigation glove, and a dedicated intelligent systems should be enough for that. But it could still take a while. A single scene lasting just a few minutes might be performed, recorded, and replayed a dozen times or more. An editor is responsible for the whole process. Usually with the help of an IS, the first goal is to remove any subconscious thoughts and feelings from the scene, leaving only clear emotions and the pure essence of the recording. Thoughts are generally very disturbing for average commercial users, and we're always striving to erase them from end-user content. During the next step of the editing process, the material can be mixed with other feelings or sensations to adjust the emotional tone of the scene. Remixing requires a lot of experience and skill to make it feel natural. But the tremendously complicated process is made manageable through the use of IS to do most of the menial work for us. Without IS, completing edits in a reasonable time frame would be almost impossible. Using a spectator, another person to experience edited brain dance to better monitor the emotional content can expedite the process and make the final product more immersive and realistic. Editing is an exhausting process for the editor. Most of us stay in the business for 10 to 15 years at most. The burnout rate is very high, which is why most of the big companies have been replacing human editors with expensive, intelligent systems in the last few years. Celebrities and brain dancers. Did you know that in the first brain dances, it was almost impossible to encounter a situation where you could see yourself in a mirror? This was partly because old BD recorders were bulky, head-worn contraptions, so actors avoided reflective surfaces. It was also because, at this level of immersion, seeing someone other than yourself in a mirror would cause extreme emotional distress, even anxiety attacks. Users were simply not accustomed to that. It's like in the early days of cinema, when people panicked while watching those old black and white movies of a steam train rolling toward them. No, I am not shitting you. Nevertheless, with improvements in the field of BD technology and increased acceptance of the medium, people grew more accustomed to the idea of seeing a different face when they looked in the mirror. In 2077, recording devices are the size of a pair of glasses, or even implanted using cortex neuralware to record and store data. It's like recording with your cyber eyes alone. And so, the first generation of celebrity brain dancers were born. Nowadays, thanks to the universality and popularity of brain dance as a medium, the top first-person personalities are recognizable all over the world. Their images are rarely altered in post-production, and they share the same status and attention enjoyed by movie stars and celebrities of old. Experiencing a BD session from the performer's point of view puts the spectator at the very center of the action, creating close, even intimate connections with the main character and the actor who plays them. Braindance users can literally feel what it's like to be their favorite protagonist. The dedicated BD audience started to grow to incredible numbers, and many celebrity braindancers started to release personal records of their daily lives in response to their growing popularity. At first, these were quasi-documentaries from which fans could learn more about their beloved heroes and heroines. But this content quickly shifted into artificial, staged productions in which one is able to live the actual life of a braindance star. Still, everything comes with a price. Previously, unknown psychological conditions have now become prevalent, like braindance-related dissociative identity disorder. Patients suffering from BDDID are so focused on a specific braindancer that they start to believe that they are the individual portrayed in the BD. watching themselves living in luxury villas and attending galas, often arriving at the conclusion that they have been replaced by an imposter who has stolen their life. In some cases, this has culminated in a patient's cacads, an irresistible desire to murder the subject of their obsession, the brain dance celebrity they once loved and admired. Other problems with brain dance overuse has other notable side effects, most notably addiction that can result in health problems due to inactivity, poor nutrition, and mental isolation. No less dangerous is the potential for emotional dependency. Brain dance makes you experience the emotions of others, usually in a very deliberately powerful way. As various studios race to produce more overwhelming emotion packs in their newest productions, people who overuse BD are reported as appearing numb and emotionless. Real life seems dull and boring to them, and they find themselves unable and unwilling to forgo brain dance, which to them has become the only source of emotional stimulation. Brain dance type, religious. Religious brain dance is the perfect way to experience religious ecstasy, regardless of the dogma of your specific faith. Using brain dance in association with religious worship is becoming an increasingly popular practice. Christian sects have recreated the torture and crucifixion of Christ so that their members can experience Jesus's suffering firsthand. Conversely, Buddhists are hard at work attempting to recreate the state of nirvana. Brain dance evangelists have been known to exploit religious BD to put the naive faithful in direct contact with the Lord and their church's bank account. These types of confidence tricks are illegal almost everywhere, but they're unfortunately not uncommon. Brain dance type, club. Some clubs use brain dance records to broadcast emotions among clubbers during concerts and live DJ shows. Users' moods are rapidly and artificially altered to synchronize with the music's tempo or to match the tone of a certain song. Brain dance type, sex. Sex brain dance is a broad category that ranges from marital aids for traditional couples to kinky sex BD offered in cat houses and massage parlors. These productions allow for sexual partners to experience each other's sensations in real time. Specialized software is often used to prevent the transmission of unwanted thoughts, but some users insist on unprotected brain dance intercourse. Brain dance type, black. Black brain dance refers to BD recordings of criminal activity, often extremely violent, psychotically sexual, or both. Their editorial quality is very low, so they contain the brutal emotions and raw thoughts of a criminal or victim. Experiencing content like this can be very dangerous. There are very few barriers installed between the minds of the original recorder and the end user, and users can suffer significant psychological damage as a result. Nevertheless, black brain dance remains very popular among certain curious consumers and is a reliable stream of revenue for various criminal organizations. Brain dance type, penitentiary. The original use of braindance that was instituted back in the early 2000s is still effective today in 2077. Convicts who qualify for rehabilitation are often sentenced to penitentiary braindance, psychological conditioning that breaks down their will and instills a sense of cooperation and compliance. The next step is to create a nightmare-like representation of the crime for which they were found guilty, then repeatedly place the convict in the role of the victim during back-to-back braindance sessions. Given some time and additional therapy, the prisoner eventually develops a strong aversion to violence and antisocial behavior. But in most cases, this conditioning also results in the manifestation of anxiety disorders. Braindance type, therapeutic braindance is an increasingly common treatment offered by many private clinics, often used with more traditional psychological therapy to treat mental illness. Sessions allow patients to face their fears in safe, simulated environments. The treatment is very effective, but also expensive due to long sessions and the complexly calibrated BD hardware that is necessary during the therapy's first stage. Netrunning, Bartmoss, and the death of the old net. Raish Bartmoss was the most brilliant and talented netrunner of our age. He was also the most paranoid. Rumors claim that he was an author of the infamous Demon and Hound series of programs designed to locate and kill enemy netrunners. There are so many varying accounts of who he was and how, and when he died, that no one can be sure of the real story. Some say that his body died in 2021 when he was nailed by some black ice, or simply from dehydration and malnutrition during one of his prolonged net ops. In this version of the story, his mind survived thanks to the top-tier life support he had in his apartment. No one knew where he lived, so no one could take care of him. His essence slowly faded, though he still remains one of the best hackers in the net. Another rumor concerned Raish allegedly fighting for one of the sides in the Shadow War period of the Fourth Corp War, when mercenary netrunners attacked corporate data fortresses, unleashing legions of deadly programs. He was so good that one of the corporations decided to take him out by any means at their disposal when they had traced his last approximate position after months of hunting. It's said that they evaporated the whole area with a direct hit from some sort of orbital satellite-mounted device. Did I mention that Bartmoss was paranoid? No one knows if that was because he was always nuts, or if he lost his mind during his years spent in the cryogenic freezer, but he was prepared for his death. He knew that when the day finally came, he wanted to be sure that his enemies and his beloved net would all go down with him. A complex system similar to the Cold War-era Dead Hand released Bartmoss's most deadly creations into the net. In the very moment that Raish's body was obliterated and his life support system stopped sending the delay codes, all hell broke loose. His most advanced demons, hellhounds, and rabbits went off, crashing systems, liberating and corrupting ISs, and frying the synapses of most of the netrunners who were jacked into the net at the time. Melting data fortresses were torn apart by self-aware viruses, their content permanently lost, altered, randomly swapped, or corrupted. By the time governments and major corporations were able to implement their emergency protocols, the damage was done, and the old net was lost forever. Rabbits, roving autonomous BARTMOS interface drones, or rabbits, were a unique BARTMOS creation, programs designed to infiltrate systems, slice their data, and distribute it randomly throughout cyberspace. At first perceived as a mere nuisance, they showed their full dreaded potential in the few hours following BARTMOS's death. Planted patiently for years as sleepers in cyberspace, they started to swap files and collapse whole data fortresses. It not only hastened the crippling of the net, but also released all sorts of confidential information to the public, causing chaos as it incriminated politicians and global corporations alike. Mayhem in the net. For the next few years, the Netwatch Corporation attempted to rebuild the world's networks with the aid of the European Commission. Many parts of the net were so infected that logging into them would instantly crash entire systems. The aggressive rogue intelligence systems, some of which were former combat ISs, hunted the reckless netrunners who explored the ruins of cyberspace to retrieve lost data. It was then that Netwatch decided to back down, and the Blackwall Project was born, a nigh-impenetrable wall of black ice that to this day separates human usable network from realms under the IS's control. It's disturbing how very little is known about its foundation, and some people claim that building the Blackwall was only possible because the ISs were also interested in its construction, leaving them in control of vast abandoned regions of the net. No humans and no artificial constructs are allowed to cross the Blackwall from either side. But that doesn't stop over-curious netrunners and dangerous ISs from trying. It's worth remembering that the Blackwall is totally invisible and does not necessarily form a continuous barrier. It often splits old network systems in half, leaving them simultaneously available to both humans and ISs. Usually, neither side is aware of the other, which often leads to tales of haunted data fortresses or possessed cybersystems. The net today, in 2077, the human-controlled net, sometimes called the shallow net, is a fractured space consisting predominantly of separated local hubs. These hubs are primarily national, state, or city nets that are amalgams of public access forums and private company domains, and are used for internal communication, work, recreation, and advertising. Netwatch rebuilt most of the European network, but has recently lost some credibility in Europe after allegations that they bargained with the ISs during the Blackwall construction. The company is currently in the process of re-networking North America at the request of the NUS president, Rosalind Myers. The old net, also known as the deep net, is a ruined, dangerous place where few dare to venture. Large portions are separated by the black wall, but there are entire regions that are abandoned, with the exception of some of Bartmoss's creations that have lurked there since the war. Nevertheless, the old net holds unique temptations, as it hides old databanks and allows for true long-distance communication for those who can navigate it. Netrunning today, gear tiers. The net is still accessible today, but generally only at the local city net level. Because such networks are usually air-gapped, you can only access them directly by logging in within proximity. To access and interact with the net, even on a basic level, you'll need specialized hardware. There are currently 6 known grades of netrunning equipment, ranked in tiers from 0 to 5. Tier 0, old portable cyberdecks that were popular in the 2020s, are presently classified as Tier 0 and are considered obsolete among most netrunners. They still have some advantages. They can be upgraded to improve their performance and achieve a moderate data transfer rate, and their handheld nature allows the netrunner to retain some mobility while putting the unit to use. But their manual operation slows reaction time and severely limits their utility. Tier 1, the simplest modern hacking, is achieved through a personal link, an advanced cyberware gadget that allows netrunners to issue commands to computer systems without using an external input device. A personal link is used for simple operations that are performed by physically plugging into the chosen port and connecting with the device. Installing illegal malware allows the user to gain control over simple devices like doors, elevators, car computers, and utility robots. The personal link was invented to allow for easy data upload and download, so you can effortlessly hack a door or copy your ex's diary. But entering deep cyberspace is not possible due to low transfer capacity. The main advantages of this connection method are unhindered mobility and inconspicuousness, since the personal link is a common cyber upgrade, and malware programs are difficult to detect without complex scanning. Tier 2, more dangerous, but more efficient, netrunning is performed with the use of a personal port, accompanied by some type of cyber goggles, often simply a hacked braindance helmet, to perceive and interact with the net in 3D. This method allows the user to enter deeper regions of the net and achieve a better data transfer. But at deeper levels, the physical stress on the body becomes an exponentially more serious problem. Overloaded nervous systems will begin to heat up, raising the body's temperature to dangerous, often deadly levels. A method of external cooling is required to circumvent these effects. The simplest means commonly used by amateur netrunners are bathtubs filled with ice, modified air conditioners, or even converted refrigerators. These methods are considered crude and are mostly utilized by low-level gangers and reckless youngsters. Tier 3. Tier 3 equipment is primarily used by professional street netrunners. It's functionally similar to Tier 2, but is a direct upgrade in every way. A typical set includes a high-capacity neural port connected directly to the user's occipital lobe for improved performance and faster data transfer. And cooling is provided by a full-body suit. Transfer rates are so extreme that without cooling, a netrunner's blood would boil within minutes. On this tier, a netrunner station is a must-have. The station's central component is a specialized chair, in some cases, a converted dental or massage chair that allows the netrunner to rest in a comfortable position for an extended period of time without impeding circulation. Basic surveillance, medical, and vital monitoring equipment is also included in any serious netrunner station. With a setup like this, a skilled user can procure data from the deep net, operate systems for a whole building, or even stand toe-to-toe with hard-hitting corporate netrunners. Tier 4. Tier 4 gear is usually reserved for the most distinguished professionals who are hired by massive corporations. Each component is the newest, most high-end version available. The netrunners who use this equipment are backed by entire server banks, and their stations have the most sophisticated upgrades, including life support, cryostasis, blood cooling systems, and other improvements to aid them in their work. They often operate in groups, both in offensive actions against rival companies and in defending their employers' systems and data. Tier 5. At first glance, Tier 5 netrunning equipment is not nearly as impressive as Tier 4's exotically appointed netrunning stations and luxurious support devices. In some cases, it can even be mistaken for Tier 1 because its user often looks like an only marginally more augmented civilian or brainiac with some neural boosters implanted at the back of the head and wearing a stylish wired jacket. That first glance couldn't be more misleading because Tier 5 is used almost exclusively by field agents of the infamous Netwatch, whose job is to fight renegade hackers and rogue IS incursions. Hardware of such quality does not require a netrunning station at all to achieve a level of performance and data transfer as good as or superior to Tier 4. Most importantly, Tier 5 users remain completely mobile and aware of their surroundings, allowing them to remotely connect to cyberspace from within the field, directly attack enemy netrunners in real space or cyberspace, and counter any unauthorized network interference. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this audio journey into the world of Cyberpunk 2077. In our next episode, we will cover the first part of the Night City chapter,